finished a meeting with him. So maybe I'll stop share. So Hernan, if you want to talk to the class.
Yeah, I only want to take a few minutes and let you guys to keep going with your work. In the student with the meetings, there was a question. One of the 3 surveys that the student union did, it was submitted to the board. I said yes. I misspoke. That survey was not submitted by us, by the administration, to the board. The other 2 were discussed in the previous board meeting, and the content of the survey was part of the discussion as a petition, and it was embedded somehow in the petition. But to be clear, the administration, we didn't send the survey as part of the conversation to it. So I want to clarify that I gave the wrong answer. So I want to let you go back to what you were doing, and I didn't want to hijack the conversation at 5 p.m. But if some of you want to talk to me about it after you're done with this, please email me and we can find a time to do it. So again, I wanna apologize by that mistake. There was not any hidden agenda to it. It was a mistake. I was in the assumption that we didn't do it. Okay, it was only the petition that was brought as such to the board. Okay, please accept my apologies.
Okay, if you guys, you have any questions? You can put them in the chat before we begin. So, okay, so I see the numbers. How are we doing with numbers? We're still going up. So I just wanted to share a few things on regard to our dates, and I'm going to use the Instagram page. Again, please sign up if you're not, because on Monday, our first event is going to be on Instagram. Our first event or last event of the day is going to be on Instagram. Also, everybody, please join us today at 5 p.m. We're going to have a conversation with this a group of students from the student union. And we're going to be talking about the pressing issues of today. This is something that was started by the students, and this is their event every Friday at 5. So they'll be changing their conversations, but I think this is quite of a pressing conversation. So, so please join us at 5. We're going to have the live chat today. The idea is that students, you should all be talking just 1 minute. We have the images on our mirror board. You're just going to say something, and this is an open chat. Everybody can comment. Everybody can say something about one of the students. It's very informal. It's not a review, so you just have to say, this is what I've done. This is what I'm going to, this is what I'm showing you right now. It's more of the moment. Information is a live chat because you can chat. On the chat, you can put comments for that student. You can write down a comment on the mirror board, so everybody's sharing the mirror board, or you can say a comment. And if it's faculty and student, everybody can say something. And if somebody's talking or we have to move to the next student, I'm going to have an alarm at 1 minute. You guys will have to stop. We're not going to mute you, but we'll have to stop. And then we'll have the conversation with the rest of the students. We had a great career day last week. The TA is also doing an amazing job with this amazing graphics for our page. With Matthew and Christy, those of you that missed it, it's going to be, we're going to put it on a channel, on a YouTube channel, so people can see it. Yes. Let me see. Why do I have same ID? I don't understand. The other thing that we're going to, okay, here it is. The other thing that we're going to have is that on Monday, the lecture, the format lecture is at 11 a.m. Remember that all the format lectures sometimes at different times, because we have different time zones and people are coming from different places. So I think that everybody should be trying to, you know, just make sure that you're showing the format lectures are required for this class. The next thing is that Anna and myself, we have changed our movie. We had selected the movie time ago. The movie is available for you to see, which is the Holidays on Monsieur Tati, Monsieur Hulot by Tati. You can see that it's an entertaining movie, but we have changed the movie that we're going to be talking about on Monday. And the movie that we have selected, we're going to send you a link, and also we're going to make the movie available. But we're going to be looking at, I don't know how to get this window out so I can show the title. LA 92. This is a movie, it's a documentary. It was about the riots of 92. So we're going to try to have a conversation between Anna and myself about the movie. I will recommend you, we're going to send the link. Faris and Kyle are going to set that up for you so you can see it before. You know, you can always see, the idea was always that we have a conversation and we have the movie later, but I think that for this particular one, I think maybe it'd be relevant that you might see it before. And the conversation between Anna and myself is going to be on the Instagram page. So you'll be able to comment live, but it's more like a kind of a short introduction. It won't be more than 20 minutes. So those on regard to the different works that we're going to be looking at. And today we're here with our live chat. So for the students, let me see. I hope that you're all there. I see that all the work is updated. And again, this is alphabetical. So we'll test it. The format today is the 1 minute per student. I'm going to set up my alarm once you start talking. But the idea is that these are fast reviews. So also it'd be really great that students, you bring a post-it, you put a post-it here, you make a comment, you can upload an image that you saw that is a reference, so I think that this could be quite messy in terms of the information. You can put it on the chat. Remember that once we close the chat, we lose the chat confirmation. So I think that Faris and Kyle, if you can just copy the chat, so we have that, that we can copy and paste onto our Miro board. Okay, any questions before we begin? So Agrawal, where are you?
Oh, hi. Afternoon.
You're first.
Right.
This is when your last name is with an A, no? Okay. Go for it. Yeah. I'll begin your time.
Thank you.
I'm going to zoom in. So I'm navigating the Miro page, okay?
Yep, that's it. That would work. I'll be giving a brief about my project, and this is what me and my partner Gia, we have been working in the last semester with Thomas Kahn. And we were working with Hugh Ferris, and now we are continuing taking this project along to our thesis as guided with Thomas Kahn as a thesis advisor. We are taking this Hugh Ferris as an idea of how the idea of making building as a city can be implemented on a different city, which is now we are taking as LA, and we are trying to impose mega structures and relating it to pandemic, which is currently going on, and even trying to interfere in that, how the pandemic, is it affecting human or is it affecting architecture? Are we seeing architecture, are we going into the deep focus of how pandemic is focusing on humans? So are we changing architecture at a very small scale, or do we need to change the architecture at a very large scale in terms of like the whole building? And now in this case, we are treating as a whole building as a building, as a city altogether. So that is more what we are thinking about this project to go on.
Thank you. Okay, excellent. This is like that. You know, those events called Pecha Kucha, I hate that name, but you know, like it's, okay, stop, cancel, stop. Okay. So here, thank you, Deepak, that was great, short. Thank you for complying. Here, do I see you? This is your moment. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
Hi. So I started to study buildings which deal with facades and fenestrations. As you can see in these little diagrams, I started to decode buildings which I feel have a barrier between calling it a facade, calling it a skin, or calling it a mere fence, and what makes it different from what makes a fence different from an envelope and a skin of a building. And from there, I started to look at how we can consider fence as a medium to study ahead. So considering that in mind, I started to look at geographical fences, infrastructural fences, political and territorial fences, and considering the current scenario, also the social distancing, which acts as a social fence. So as you can see two images on gray on top, those are those models those are the analysis of how I'm starting to look at objects which form a collage property to deal with social interaction problems. And the images that you see in the right are the miniature examples of how I see my project going further ahead. And this is to borrow from Bernard Shumi's examples of where he talks about architecture as an event space. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Again, people can start typing. You can put references if you like. What we'll do is that at the end, we talk about all of them. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi.
Are you there? Hi.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna start. So basically, Jucheng here, we teamed up for thesis project, and I'll just talk briefly about our thesis. So basically, from very beginning of the semester, we knew that we would do something about digital materials. That's what we did for previous semesters as well. And so for now, we define it as new materials digitally invented or certain existing materials manipulated to behave in a manner that cannot be achieved in the physical world. And we want to explore the possibilities of digital materials in architecture design. Digital materials are usually considered as flat materials, images that are applied onto surfaces. And usually they are a representation or imitation of materials from the real world. And we believe that we are in a time that are not necessarily everything needs a reference from the real world. And what if instead of digital being the copy of the real, we take the digital as a starting point? So we start to think, what if digital materials are something with more 3D quality within outer and inner, and with sections, as you can see on the images. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you. So you guys get 2 times, even though I know you're a team, but you get.
Yeah, we'll update you guys in the.
You have another. Yeah, you get the double presentation. So, Julian. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, are you ready for your minute?
I am.
Go for it. I'll start.
Okay. So yeah, what I've posted so far is the cover image of what I submitted for the thesis prep, as well as the issue link. So basically the project began with an exploration of how, especially with us living in this kind of virtual world right now where we can't really communicate or be with each other, the idea is how do we create community specifically through the program of the dance club space in virtual space. And so another thing on the right is kind of a work document that I'm working through of outlining what I want to do before miniatures. And so basically my plan right now, what I've explored in the magazine and throughout is kind of the music video as a means of kind of connecting all of these elements. So right now I'm in the process of creating these different worlds in Unreal Engine that I will kind of combine and recomposite with footage of myself. So it's kind of, I guess, the architecture of a new identity through these interfaces.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, excellent. somebody, if you guys want to see the book, you can click on it. Everybody can see this. Okay, Pende.
Hi,
Are
hello.
you there?
Yeah,
No. Okay, are
I'm
you
working
ready?
on this. Yes,
Go.
I'm working on this thesis topic called the ugly element. I think there exist important elements that are part of architecture design with scale, context, texture, geometry, and color. There is always a fine line when and how to use them and make the structure look aesthetically appealing. A single change in the following can cause a drastic difference in the aesthetic judgment. In my report, I set a series of examples using iconic architecture buildings and redesigning them by adding or subtracting a simple change. Understanding and applying the changes in the elements like scale, texture, color, alignment, or the form of the designs. Also ahead with reference to Trump's idea of making the federal buildings beautiful again by renovating and redesigning the deconstructivist and the brutalist architecture, and a similar reference of Chinese governments to encourage to design weird buildings. I would like to present my thesis with two potential sites of Washington, D.C. and Beijing, China. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. What? Okay, Yunfei, Cao, hi, how you doing?
Hi. Hi.
You ready for your minute?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Hi everyone. I'm Faye, and I will partner with Peng for thesis. Our thesis is unpredictable, which means unfamiliar and unconventional. And I will introduce it in three aspects: time, perception, and identity. And we'll address time with unfinished and material. Unfinished gives the possibility for architecture to keep developing, and material can reflect the time. And the second one, perception, is more about the rethinking of architecture and reseeing architecture elements. When architecture presents to people their audio, and we want them to break the conventional understanding of architecture. And the third one is identity, which is the strategy we use to design. And we'll use different types of assets to give the unfamiliar and diverse feeling of our project. And that's it for now.
Okay, one more second and here you go. Perfect. You did it before required time. Okay. So, Sherry, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Go for it.
Hi, this is Sherry, and my thesis is about a combination of both natural imprint and digital imprint. And the botanic imprint is focusing on the synthesis between the revolving botanic species and engraving embossing to make a mark on body of architecture. Here I treat plants as a philosophical being. The role of the architect is to design the revolving process in order to achieve specific futuristic revolveness effects. To work more like a landscape architect, one could imagine a scenario that revolving is going to take place, and that the architect ought not to design the botanic imprint on part of the architecture details. The botanic imprint as a phenomenal imaginary of utopia world allows the rest of the human-made infrastructure to be imprinted by nature. Thank you.
Okay, perfect timing.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think that, let me see. I don't see Wanshu, are you there? I don't know if you, or Osan.
Yeah. I uploaded my things, but
Are they in the big? They're in the big one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at it here then. Okay. Start your minute.
Okay. Well, my project is about theaters or opera houses. So I studied 30 presidents to understand the outside volume and the inner side volume of the auditorium, and the relationship between these volumes and their circulations. And here are some the above two are some modern theaters, and between are some classic theaters, and below are the very new opera houses. And here are 5 examples of my studies. Okay, that's it.
Excellent, thank you. You had 7 seconds left, but you know. Okay, so last project, Osan. There we go. Osan, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Are you moving it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to put my stuff. So my thesis project is called Off, and I looked at different kinds of being off in architecture. And in my experiment, I looked at the Carl Andre sculptures, and I did kind of different operations on it with the surfaces and the softness and the fatness of the surfaces to make it kind of in different modes of being off. I think that's it.
Okay. Excellent. You can use your extra 30 seconds. Okay, so I think that's it. You guys, could you copy them on the lower, if you can copy them again, Cheng and Osan, if you can copy them on the lower board, I think that we can begin our conversation. So who would like to begin? Okay, so maybe I'll begin. Yes, I think that I was looking at the comments in the chat. You guys did great. The one, you know, Max, Maria, you're like impressed with how everybody's presenting so fast. So maybe we can start from the beginning. I think that if you guys, maybe you can write down, oops. I'm leaving all of the explorers mostly so we see the movement almost as if we were in a place. Would somebody want to begin? I can begin, but maybe somebody wants to begin commenting.
I just want to thank everybody for showing your work. That was really, it's wonderful to hear in your own words what's going on, because I've been checking into the Miro board, and we have, you know, a large class, and really just seeing all the different things people are working on. So this kind of opens up a little bit, even though it's a short 1 minute opening. And I guess I'm curious about, because we're going to be working on the miniatures, does anybody want to maybe talk a little bit about how you're thinking, what it means to miniaturize your thesis idea, or how you're connecting this concept of the miniature to your thesis?
Maybe you guys, I was asking exactly that question. Maybe you guys can begin. How you think it will translate. One note I wanted to say to everybody: miniatures is very much about this ready-made, a cheap model made out of like simple items. It might be sophisticated, like a cup of coffee, porcelain, or something like that, very domestic. But please, you know, stay within those kind of easy concerns. So, yes, go ahead. Lindsay? Yes. Lindsay, you have to
we haven't really started to think about the materials, like the actual materials we will use for the miniature. Because for now, everything stays in digital for now. And so for the miniature, it might be a video or a magazine, but then we're still considering to do some 3D printing tests because we find this customizable 3D print filament online where you can really color match your filament. And I think that could be a pretty good option for our thesis. But yeah, we're still doing some research for now.
Yeah. And the magazine will more be like a catalog of furniture or material choosing.
Right. Will probably be in a catalog, product catalog format.
I think that's a great idea. I think that, again, if you cannot find the filament, maybe you can invent something that is similar to the filament, even if you have to paint a spaghetti in pink or blue, just find something. It should be simple. Don't overthink. Everybody should think that midterm review, that's when you do your nicer stuff. This is fast. It will photograph great. The good news for everybody is that we're going to do curbside pickup. So we'll be able to photograph them. So, so just go for something. Don't rely so much on the difficulty of the now that it's, receiving something. If you get it, great. Have a backup plan. I don't know. It might be on your kitchen, your backup plan. Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent. For Hiral, you said that this is your this might be your miniature model, Hiral?
Yeah, that is a reference of how it might be.
Okay. So are these kind of paper models?
It could be paper models, or it could also be, maybe I would cast something.
Jello.
Yeah.
Or jello. No, I don't remember how you say gelatin. Again, I think these are really small, really nice. How you play with that. Find them that are, something out of the realm of the architectural examples. Any comments for Hiral? You can also, I've been putting these post-its. If you find an example, you can put it up, you can put it later, you can upload an image, any way that you can help out your fellow friends. So Hiral, maybe more comments will come in, soon. Okay, Agrawal.
I haven't discussed with my partner, but I was, on a personal note, I was thinking of using multiple kaleidoscopes. And so when you see, so our major thesis focusing upon the interiors of each building, which is huge, 20 times the scale of any one building from downtown. So the kaleidoscope would give us an impression of how things keep changing or how things are different. So using multiple kaleidoscopes, and if you view from top to inside, it might just give a different vision of how things are inside and how it's so different from outside. So that's a contrast how I would represent my thesis. Could be. So kaleidoscope would be a one major element that could play a part.
Excellent. Comments? Post-its? Images? We'll warm up. Don't worry, you guys. You guys are the first, but we'll warm up. We'll have this, everybody will be desperate to kind of put notes and comments. One thing I would recommend you guys is that be careful that it's not interactive. Remember that this is a photographic element, okay? So it has to have a detachment from a human. So if you do that, maybe you do it for photograph, for your animation, but for the miniatures, find something that has that, those qualities.
I guess I have a general comment. I think and this has just kind of been on my mind. I think it came up with Deepak's and maybe also Hiral's, the idea of coronavirus and how much it gets related to our projects. So I feel on one hand, not referencing it at all is weird, but also referencing it too much has the potential to date our projects. This is kind of a conversation I've had in other projects beyond studio. It's just like, we don't know what September is going to even look like. So predicting is tricky. I don't think anyone has any answers, but it's interesting to start to think about navigating both referencing it and not making too much of an assumption. It's a tricky thing.
Yeah, maybe you talk about something that is related to COVID-19, like social distancing, about the, you know, like the space between people, but not necessarily talking about the pandemic. I think that's a good point. So there might be other points. If anybody has any other ways in which you can somehow talk about it without necessarily focusing on. So social distancing. You know, like other ways that might be characteristics for that. But I agree with Christina.
I was talking to Jeff and he was saying that he is never tempted to make a reference to facts that might get dated very soon, so that he would never talk about the pandemics or all this kind of things, simply because he sees the life of his work, being a theorist that writes, and his text to have a much longer span than the one of the journalists 24-hour news that we are bombarded. So it's then, though he does do that in one text. So he said, usually I don't do it, but this time for the pandemic I am. So the truth is that I think this is a common issue. How do you refer to things that matter without risking to make your work responding to an emergency and not looking at the discipline at large that would maybe be relevant in years to come? I think that's a thing to navigate for you guys in thesis. How do you make certain general certain concerns in general, not just of the day? That's a major question I think one should try to answer.
Thank you so much. So I would, you know, we'll see how we become really good at this system. But I recommend, if you put a post-it, sign your name. I put it in the first one, not the other one, so the student knows who's coming from. I really like, Julian, that you do this. I would say all the students should have a work plan. So, or you can do a visual work plan, however you do. But I think that a work plan would be great.
Yeah, I was just going to add for the miniature, what I was thinking of presenting would most likely be a video, or it would be really great if somehow I could 3D print or make 3D the worlds that I'm building. And then also I didn't have time to mention, but I think something I'm interested in doing is creating a sort of avatar that would exist in this interplay. So yeah, maybe that would also be an element.
Can I recommend you that even for miniatures, if it's a video, because the videos we're going to see them on Zoom, so we'll see them. But for the exhibition, maybe you do a printout of your avatar, like a cutout. Could be something like that if you want to. Like you just design your avatar and it's like a cutout, almost as if it's a face mask. So I would say for those of you that have videos, find a way in which maybe we can show it.
Okay.
So again, please cut out of avatar. I mean, maybe there are other questions, other ideas. Students, please, guest developer that is around. I see a lot of guest developers. Add your comments or recommendations. Maybe you can look at Julian's and then look at that. Okay, next. What's your plan for miniature? What do you want to have for miniature?
So the next step for the design process is to list down the elements, help in building a building, its doors, windows, walls, roofs, and make a series in reference to Rem Koolhaas elements series of how the ugly version of each element will look, and make it presentable in a catalog form or way.
So maybe you need to have an element. One of the elements could be your miniature, or like a group, you know, like that.
Yes.
Yeah, for the miniature, you know, like a box. Any other comments? Maybe this format might be strange for, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't thought honestly about the model, physical model, so I'm open to take suggestions from other students or faculties about the idea.
Yes, students, please add your post-its. So again, don't overdo, this is for everybody, don't overdo your miniature model. This is a model that should be seen that it's a rough model. You spend your time developing your project, and this is a thing for the exhibition. So maybe it's one element out of your full thesis. Okay, more comments will come through. So if you guys have a comment or through the chat.
Actually, I was just going to say one thing,
Yes.
Florencia, if I can.
Please.
I think it's interesting thinking about miniature, an ugly miniature, because I think it's, you know, normal, one thinks that, oh, everything looks cute when it's small. And that's the kind of general discourse. If you have a kind of small mini thing, it's kind of more difficult to make it ugly. Usually when you try and then scale up something that looks cute and nice when it's tiny, like a baby, when it's big, it looks really ugly. But you kind of have the opposite problem. So I think I think that's going to be quite an interesting thing for you. It's going to be more difficult to make it ugly if it's mini.
Okay.
On that note,
yes.
You know, one thing you might look at is you just have to take something really, really small, like nano, and then when it's scaled up, I mean, I'm thinking, I don't know if you know, there's a Georges Bataille article in the Surrealist journal Minotaur that contains these photographs of toenails, you know, which are, in terms of the history of photography at that time, that was kind of a nano thing to photograph. But even like a mini version of a nano object made it quite grotesque.
That's excellent. Please add the note if you have that, those reference, Sean, yeah. That would be great. So he can, and even if you have it, the image, if you can put it on the Miro board, that would be great. Okay. Yeah. This Miro sometimes doesn't update. Comments? Any comments? So I think that maybe you can choose. I don't know if you guys, what you think. Marceline, I'm putting you on the spot because you're like first one next to me. Maybe it's one of the three. Maybe it's a focus. I mean, again, use you know, in the unpredictability. Maybe you need to focus on one element only, you know, even though the project might become more complex, you know, so it's either about time, about perception, about identity. I think you spoke more about identity. Maybe that could be one way to go for miniatures.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fascinating problem, this whole idea of how to make miniature. I think it's also related to, but very different from abstraction. And I remember this past semester, we were talking in my history theory class about Michael Young's writing on abstraction and this notion of substitution, like at what point does something stand for other things? And there often is an assumption that there's a reduction, similar to what John's saying about the assumption that the making small is often associated with the cute. But I guess I would be fascinated, like as we were just talking about, like if you pull out elements from something, and so imagine the elements that make up a larger work of architecture. So suddenly if you're just focusing on windows and doors, and you're making a kind of model that only has those things, what can it do that a conventional model would not allow us to experience? That's, I mean, one way. I mean, I think there are many myriad ways of dealing with this act of making miniature. And I think it's a very provocative problem to take on as a quick exercise. And maybe I would be curious what others think in the class of, like, if there's someone approaching the miniature in a particular way, or in the group that we're discussing at large.
Yes, I think this is a forum for different conversations. We have too many students, so therefore that's why we have different presentations. But so I just put for Sherry, I put the comment that Christy gave you. I think that if you can find that example, maybe copy it and paste it in the mirror board. But I think that was a, yeah.
Hi, Sherry. Hi, Florencia.
Hi,
Sorry, I can't turn my camera on right now.
Okay.
But I added it into the mirror board so that you don't have to lose it. And if you can't find it, I think it was really easy to find, but if you can't, you can just send me an email. I have the PDF.
Yeah, thank you so much.
But I think it's a really, I think the topic that you're working on is really interesting. I don't know if this article will help, but this article talks a lot about how there's so many fake plants, like plastic plants and plants that are being made of different materials, that they're starting to have kind of their own ecology and taxonomy. So that might be interesting for you as you begin to work kind of in the engraving. You could almost make your own taxonomy related to that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, that was great. So yeah, I would add, Sherry, maybe you just copy and paste some images so we can all see the references. I think in general that would work quite well. Okay, so one shoe. These are all examples. Is one that is your own project? Which one? What one is a diagram that you've done for you, or not yet?
Not yet. I'm still doing the diagrams for today's meeting, so I didn't put it up here.
So I think one recommendation, if you work, like in your case, with examples that are disciplinary like this, I think that since you won't have a project so early, it might be that your miniatures is a hacking, borrowing on a case study. So for example, it would be wonderful, I think, on my point of view, if you were to do like a model, something that is a version of this model. So, take a case study and hack it. No, so that is a fast way that you begin, and it's not yet your project. Yes, it's something that you enter. Any other comments or feedbacks? I think that we're still fresh at the very beginning of this process, so I'll keep moving and then I'll leave time for final comments. So by the second, if I'm the only one that talks, by the third event, everybody will hate me. So Osan, well, Osan, I know your project, but yeah, any?
So I think if it's gonna be like an off version of the case study like this, maybe I can make a model out of flexible material like paper, like the case studies on the right that you see, or something rigid, so I kind of introduce softness to it. I don't know.
Maybe a post-it model.
Post-it model?
Or something. Yeah, I agree with you. I would say find a way maybe you can do, because these are already where you're drawing, so maybe you can start to work on that.
Yeah.
Any ideas from people? And I would say this one right here. Yeah.
Christy here again.
Yeah.
Maybe I really like the foam, like sheet material of foam. You can order it from like a Joann Fabrics or something. where it's just like the 1/16 of an inch. You can get it in all different colors. And it's kind of, it's something maybe between paper and foam core or between paper and fabric. So I don't know how much movement you want, but I really like building models with that. And you can usually just get like 8.5 by 11 sheets of it. So I don't know how that might work for the miniature model.
Yeah, I think for everybody, if you look at miniature model, you can order something maybe Joann's or like simple stuff. Again, these are cheap models. I wanted to reiterate what I call it, the toilet paper model. So don't do it. Maybe you're not the case, post it or something like that. But I think that's a great idea. And Joanne, yeah, you can order. Maybe they have a fast delivery, or some stuff also might be on Amazon. So questions or comments? I like to see everybody moving. Questions and comments on regard to miniature or general questions and comments or further comments that you might have. I start to see, just keep on adding more post-its, please, and examples. No? Okay. So, you overall comments, again, this is like a warm up. We'll see. I think it's also, this is a pin-up, like you guys, you can see what's happening. You can hear your fellow classmates to see what they are doing. How everybody's the same, trying to find something, trying to work through something. So again, we'll warm up. You can look at, you can leave a question or a comment. You can email your fellow friends if you think of something. But that's the role of this live chat. Any questions for me on regard to what we're doing, or any questions about Monday or miniatures? So one thing I wanted to say is that you all receive an email where it said that the shop is open, and that the 3D printing, they are really small. So we are not, it's not that it's, so it's not going to be available, I think, for such a large scale of students for miniatures. But what I wanted to say is that those students that are overseas or far away or somewhere else that is not LA, please email me. We're going to send an email and see if we can make it available for people that are not in LA. So Radmika is asking if the laser cutter is available. I think everything they're trying to figure out to what degree things might be available. But one thing that we were talking about with Elena is that for miniatures, let's just leave the facilities for students that are not in town. So since if not, they will have to be FedExing. So maybe they can 3D print in the school or something like that. So we can get their model. And for the rest of the students, if you're in LA, this model should be quite simple. And we leave laser cutting, 3D printing, milling, everything, we leave it for midterm review. So there's no pressure on you trying to do all of that, but we try to maintain, to keep that quality of work for midterm review. And for this review, we'll stay with the simpler models, except for the students that are overseas or out of town. So we can give them, we can let the shop to adapt to how it's going to be this curbside SCI-Arc, but we can help the students that are not in town. So this is what we were thinking with Elena. We'll make it available. We'll try to make it available for them, and for the rest of the students, maybe you do like the Joann's or Osan or things that are more analog. Would that make sense? Yes. So for those of you that are abroad, we'll make a form and then we'll try to help you out and see if we can 3D print a SCI-Arc and you know, we can help you with the models. You know, I think there are a few students that are not in town. So we'll try to focus the facilities on the students that are not here, and on midterm review, for midterm review, we'll try to make it work for everybody. That makes sense, Brad? That answers your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other question? You can put it in the chat. If not, I wanted to finish at 3 o'clock so you have time to see your advisor and then meet us again at 5 o'clock. Okay, Vincent, are you there? Is Vincent there? I just, after I hang up, I'm going to test the 5 o'clock. Okay, that's fine. Vincent, I would say if you can log in into, after I finish this, before I see my students, I'm going to open the Fridays at 5, so we make sure that it works, so I don't have issues. So it's just to test it. Okay, and then, yeah, or whoever, you know, just open that link just to test it. Okay. Okay, thank you guys. Hope this was not weird for you all. We'll keep on adapting. Hopefully you'll find more notes, and we'll go at it again next Friday. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.